Hey guys, what's up? It's Arceus Night here with another installment of FanFiction with Arceus, or as I'm calling it now, FIMFiction. Today we got Chapter 2 of My Little Ponies, Little Ponies by Baby Boo. Chapter 2, Genuine Rarity. High amid the grumbling clouds that showered Ponyville, Rainbow Dash stood in her tuft of the mist, eyeing the lower-hanging rain clouds. They were nice in space, but not, she thought, well deployed. Too many were raining on buildings and pavement that didn't need watering. Raising her head defiantly into the gale, she spread her wings wide and flexed them to test the wind, then leaped from her perch in a graceful arc. From the peak, she let herself drop in a smooth curve, swooping under a particular bed-sized cloud, then up again to loop around and land atop it. She waved to get the attention of Cloud Chase and Flitter, who were trimming the edges of a nearby cloud bank, and a hoof signed what she wanted done with the misplaced clouds. When they signaled agreement and set about the new task, Dash dug her hooves into the clouds she stood upon. With big, steady power sweeps of her wings, she began pushing it away from the town center, towards greener areas beyond the library tree. She glanced down as she passed over the library. Twilight Sparkle was probably inside, reading her precious books and drinking tea, while good old Rainbow Dash was out showing clouds and lightning and rain. She grinned. Poor Egghead Unicorn just didn't know what she was missing. A flash of cheerful color caught her eye against the library's dark brown bark. Frowning, she pushed the cloud into a suitable position, then glided back into the tree. As she dropped lower, her suspicion proved right. The color was that of three familiar fillies, in bright yellow rain slickers crusted out a window staring in. Dash scowled and hovered up behind them. Hey, what's the big idea spying on Twilight? The Cutie Mark Crusaders jumped and whirled around, Scootaloo giving a shush before fully realizing who the noisemaker was. She quickly put an angelically innocent smile on and said, "Oh, hi, Rainbow Dash." "Oh, hi yourself. What are you three up to?" Rainbow Dash demanded, hooves on hips. Rule 1. Ponies do not have hips. They have something like hips. We're just, Sweetie Belle said, but couldn't decide what they were just. I really like her mate. No, that's not part of the story. When the rain got heavy, we got stuck under the tree. Apple Bloom gestured up to the leafy canopy. So go knock on the door. Twilight's not going to leave you out in the rain. We were busy playing in the mud, said Sweetie Belle, as though it were the most obvious thing. Oh, right, of course, Dash mocked. But still, you shouldn't be peeking through windows, she added sternly, as like she never did it herself. Really, Dash? So if you haven't been peeking through windows, what have you been doing? Peeking through windows while spying on people while they were having sex? Dash, you freaking pervert. Well, we wouldn't, Apple Bloom began. We were planning on it, but we heard Pinkie Pie laughing in there, and we sort of looked at the window, and continued Sweetie Belle. And what? Dash leaned forward and glanced through the window. Are they doing some kind of cool magic in there? She whispered, then added, which is not an excuse. No, that's not it. Well, you just have to see it for yourself, Scootaloo concluded. Dash bit her lip and fought her conscience for a moment, but inevitably her eyes crept towards the window, followed by a turn of her head, followed by a quick flap to nudge the fillies aside and look for herself. Blank face, she looked for a long while. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Now guys, before I continue on with this, I have to tell you guys. Listen, you know how I was doing Spike's Sexual Revolution? Well, I've decided to cancel that on the account of, well, my friends had told me that I needed to straighten out, and, well, I've decided to do that. So, yeah, that won't be happening anymore. And you can all thank it to my friend, friend who is also a girl, Blood Lover. Go and check her channel. She doesn't post anything. She just likes things and post comments. Alright, let's continue on. Chapter 2, Genuine Rarity. I'm very disappointed in you all. Shining Armor, Captain of the Royal Guard, stood tall in judgment above Applejack, Ramwodash, and Fluttershy. That her own best friend would treat Lady Rarity so shamefully. And you, Fluttershy, added Princess Caden, stepping alongside him. How could you just airdrop all those poor bunnies like that? It's a good thing we came along when we did. Who knows what you might dump on her next? The three chastised ponies were silent and still, struck dumb by the guilt or astonishment at the sudden appearance of the royal pair in Ponyville. Seriously, those two walk up in my town, I'll be like, damn, son. Oh, I mean, can I play too? Asked Spike, rather more politely hunching his head under the blank stares he was getting from Pinkie and Twilight. In his hand were a pair of toy ponies, quite different in design from Pinkie's. Sure thing, Spike-a-ding. Are you afraid? No. Sure thing, Spike-a-ding, Pinkie chirped. She leaned over to examine the figurines he held, ignoring the weird look he gave her about Spike-a-ding. Oh hey, Shining Armor and Cadence, I haven't done them yet. Spike, did you get those for the wedding cake? Twilight asked, her tone more amused than sharp, by the slightest of margins. Honest, protested Spike. These are souvenirs, I bought them. Something in the expression suggested to Twilight that it wasn't a lack of effort, that he didn't have the original cake figures. She saw no reason to pursue it further. Oh look, he's got us too, squealed Pinkie, peering over the small basket at Spike's side. Spike nodded. Yep. They had a whole royal wedding party set, bridesmaids and all, with a castle. Pinkie reached in and held up a Twilight Sparkle figure dressed in her wedding party gown. She looked towards her own collection with a faint frown. Huh, I guess they do make dolls of us. Spike caught her expression and hastily said, Sure, but yours are way better. I mean, look how cheaply these are painted. Spike caught her expression and hastened to say, Oh wait, read that. Pinkie took a closer look at the Twilight figure, with its features uneven and tail stripes slapdashed. She picked up her own hoof-made Twilight and held them side by side. Even from where Twilight, the real one, sat, she could see there was no comparison in quality. The souvenir figure was just an ornament, smaller than Pinkie's doll and simplistically detailed with mere dots for eyes on a paper dress. Yeah, you're right. I win! Pinkie concluded with a sunny grin. She hunkered down again on the front door of near the toy carousel boutique and advanced her Twilight doll towards Spike. In imitation of Twilight's precise decision, she told Shining Armor, You're not being fair, big brother who I should have invited to a party or something before my friends could meet him before he got married. Hey, said Twilight in retaliation. She picked up the Pinkie doll. After all, Verity was trying to make over the world, Twilight Sparkle said reasonably. Even so, Shining Armor replied to his suitor. You should know better than to bury a bridal maid in bunnies. But bunnies are fun, squealed Pinkie, approaching the group, bouncing around in random directions. Shining Armor and Twilight stared at Pinkie in silence until her frantic bouncing slowed and stopped, sheepishly. Twilight armor turned again to Twilight. Besides, didn't you realize that fair rarity would never turn evil? Twilight stammered. Wait, you mean? Pinkie muttered. Oh no. Then pitched forward to bonk her forehead against the ground. Yes, declared Kane dramatically. The real rarity has been with us all along. From a nearby basket-shaped chamber stepped Rarity. Resplendent in a casual reproduction of her bridal maid's gown. That's right, and I just can't believe you mistook that horrid creature for fabulous me. Pinkie bopped her head again and said, Really? Twilight gasped and declared, Then the rarity under all those bunnies would be, all spoke in unison, a changeling! Except I think we should switch them, because mine's obviously the real one, Pinkie said, reaching into the pile of cotton balls and extracting her rarity. Spike nodded and hummed agreement, as though he'd already decided the same, and passed his souvenir rarity over to be stuffed under the bunnies in replacement. Shining Armor nodded grimly. And of course, every pony knows you should never cover a changeling in bunnies. Because bunnies are full of love, groaned Twilight in despair. Seriously, changelings were doing this? Commented Pinkie. We have to stop it before it's too late, said Princess Kane. It's already too late, crowed the false Rarity, buzzing up out of the bunny pile. With the love I've taken from these bunnies, I'll spread my glamour all across Equestria. Ponies everywhere will adore the fabulous Rarity, and I shall be the most powerful changeling that ever lived. You'll never get away with it, challenged Shining Armor. You're not even the queen, insolent hiveling. My royal aunts will make sure work of you, added Cadence with confidence. Where are the princesses? Asked Pinkie. All the ponies paused, looked up toward Canterlot Castle. Well, high on the side of a bookshop mountain, Celestia and Luna had fallen on their sides, knocked senseless by the collapse of their picture book palace. The ponies looked back at each other. Okay, Twilight said. Up to us then. What should we do? Asked Shining Armor. Ooh, maybe something like casting your shield spell that worked fine last time, suggested Pinkie. Twilight shook her head gravely. As a scholar of advanced magic, I have to advise that it would be far too boring if that worked again. We'll have to find another way. Drat, she's right, said Shining Armor. Sorry. What? There's all kinds of boring magic, trust me. What is that even? Pinkie. Armor nudged the pink pony. Pinkie sighed and started bouncing again. I like balloons. Balloons are great, squealed Twilight, then cleared her throat and said seriously, But we need a better plan. A bell rang from the kitchen and Spike jumped up exclaiming, Oh, sandwiches! Sandwiches? That's a weird plan, said Pinkie. It's not a plan, it's lunch, Spike said with the roll of his eyes. He hurried to the kitchen to prevent anything from burning. In his absence, Pinkie shrugged and moved over closer to the toy carousel boutique. Okay, you work on the plan for the good side. I'm going to be the villain for now, she said, picking up the smaller, lower quality Rarity doll. While the heroic ponies pondered their options, the false Rarity retreated to her evil lair deep in the dungeon of the carousel boutique. Chuckling, she drew forth a large pink casket, an assortment of ominous brushes, ribbons, and makeup, laying them out with sinister tidiness. So they found me out. Too bad it won't help them, she gloated. When I steal all the love of Ponyville, no power in Equestria will be greater than mine, and you'll be my first magnificent minions. She turned upon her captives 3 unicorns, blue, green, and white. Randomly abducted from the town square, they shuddered in apprehension in the light of the crazed asceticism in their the light crazed cynicism in her eyes. Never fear, darlings. Rarity's gonna make you all beautiful! She began to laugh, a sinister rising cackle of evil triumph as she advanced on her first victims with a huge tube of lipstick. Polly stared at Pinky's back as she loomed over her villainous game. Spike returned from the kitchen with a little wheeled cart bearing baked, open-faced cheese sandwiches and bowls of soup. Frozen in place and matched Twilight's look of concern. Gradually, Pinky became aware of their hesitation and turned to look at them. What? You do spooky evil pretty well, Pinky, Spike said dubiously. Thanks, I practice, Pinky said cheerfully. She held her gaze on Spike with eyes wide and manic. Smiled just a little too broad and stayed that way until he broke the silence. Eat your sandwich, Pinky, he said, thrusting the plate at her. After taking a break to dine on something less satisfying than bunny love, but probably healthier, the false Rarity emerged from her boutique onto the streets of Ponyville. Marching by her side were 3 unicorn mares who had been made over not only on the outside with makeup and gigantic barrettes, but in spirit as well. Overpowered by the changeling's sinister sense of style, they followed her in a dazed loyal servants. The citizens of Ponyville were sprawled in random piles around the town square, minding their own business at first. Only a few took notice as the false Rarity stood atop a giant book and reared onto her hind legs, addressing them in grandeur display. My dear little ponies, she declared, rejoice, for today is the day that the great and fashionable Rarity has come to enliven your dull little lives with the power of beauty and fashion. Come forth and experience the Rarity difference. For I'm not Rarity, I don't know where to go with that. I do not know where to go with that last part. Experience the Rarity different. Because I'm not Rarity, I'm Sage Row 3. Curious about the spectacle, an orange-maned volunteer stepped from the crowd. The changeling and her minions surrounded the Earth Pony and bustled around her, snapping a lovely pink skirt around her waist and dabbing her face with brilliant color. Behold, said the beauty queen, displaying her work to the crowd. Rarity's wonderful, crooned the newly styled pony in a hypnotic stupor. More ponies came forth eagerly, not seeing the danger, laughing. The false Rarity and her lackeys spread out through the crowd, beautifying every pony they could get their hooves on, enslaving them with mane stylings and fancy clothes. Each convert in turn began working sinister influence on others, shouting an ominous chant that grew ever louder in their numbers and swelled. Rarity, 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 Rarity! Princess Cadence watches a bizarre spectacle unfolding and gasps. She's driving the whole town fashion mad. I didn't know she could do that, Pinky said aghast. The real Rarity gave a haughty huh and leaped forward to stride towards the swelling thralls. Well, I'm for one have quite enough of this uncivilized behavior. That cheaply painted horse cannot steal my spotlight and get away with it. She reared up before the chanting cloud and declared, Stop, all of you, for I am the true, fair, and beautiful Rarity, who have come to save you from that tacky impostor. Pay her no heed, shouted the changeling. She's just...
Hi.
This happens every time. Every freaking time. Okay, back to this. She's just jealous because she hasn't got a pretty dress like mine. And she's huge. Ooh! Oh snap, it's on now, son! It is on! Just like that one dance battle from South Park. Ready to do a sharp, shock breath at the low blow. She lowered her head in determination. Oh, now it's on. Ooh, stuff's about to get real, son. She gave a mighty leap towards the duplicate who met her in midair. For a long while, it seemed that it could be any pony's victory. The two opponents bopping against each other with all their might, but the posture resorted to a dastardly cheat. Raising a gigantic powder puff, she slammed the real Rarity down into the crowd of her lackeys who swarmed over the unicorn in a chaotic heap. When the bony pile cleared away, Rarity stood up, remade, her face painted in vivid pink lipstick and a magenta eyeshadow, rainbow striped leghorns bunched all over all four hooves. The bright yellow scrunchie binding her tail. For a moment there was silence, Rarity's friends waiting for her to explode in fury at the application of such outdated style. Excuse me. But to their horror, Rarity instead went to the changeling side. Memorized, chanting her own name in the praise of her foul doppelganger. The changeling laughed heartily. Silly ponies, now you see that I am unstoppable. None of you can escape my wrath for defying me. This inferior Rarity will spend her days locked away in a fat camp. Applejack will go from bucking apples to bucking fabulous.
You don't use that word in this house.
Hey, I'm recording. It's bucking.
You didn't say that word.
Whatever.
I don't want that word in this house. I mean it.
I'll see to it personally that Rainbow Dash always dresses in style. Ah ha 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 ha. Dick. See, this is why I block the door when I record. People freaking interrupt me. Now apparently I'm gonna have to super glue that door shut. This is terrible, Cadence wailed. Even if Rarity can fall for it herself, what chance do the rest of us have? Not much at all. Together all the ponies turned towards the only genus to save the day, Pinkie Pie. Twilight furrowed her brow in thought. She was mildly mystified that her earlier practical suggestion had been dismissed as boring, but she could see Pinkie's, for lack of a better word, logic. This was one of those fun things, not a case of practicality. She needed to come up with something more exciting. Something Pinkie had said just now caught her attention and set a little tingle of an idea in her bucking mind. She frowned deeper, pursuing that thought that was hit suddenly with a flash of inspiration so bright that it brought a little light to her horn. Go away. Aha, I've got it, she exclaimed with a loud abrupt, can you please leave? Thank you.
Don't say the F word. Or I'll keep coming back every time. That's how it works. That word doesn't belong in this house. This is a Catholic house.
A lot of breath notes that make Pinky and Spike jump. What you got? Pinky asked. You'll see, Twilight grinned brilliantly and picked up the Pinky doll. Every pony relax. I got a plan, Pinky announced joyfully. Pinkie Pie plan, Shining Armor asked critically. Yes, a super duper Pinky plan. I promise. It makes no sense and it's not... It makes no sense, but it's not... And it's not boring. That seriously doesn't know what... No, we've got a secret weapon. Even better than bunnies. Terrific. What is it? It's a secret, silly Billy. You just need to clear out all the other ponies and get her out in the open, and Auntie Pinky will take care of the rest. I'm like 20 years older than you, Shining Armor grumbled. He approached the closer end of the pony crowd, the ones not conquered by the army of beautifical thrall, and adopted a confident, no-nonsense attitude of authority. All of you need to take cover, he declared. Don't panic, just head inside and stay there, please. A light brown stallion stepped out of the crowd and asked calmly, Who? All of you, can't you see there's a dangerous chasing on the loose? Armor politely began clearing the area by pushing piles of confused civilians aside with his shoulder. For the most part, they seemed okay with this. But the Earth Pony had another question. Who? Armor paused and stared at him. That fake Rarity! She's bedazzling every pony in sight with her fabulosity. Who? I said every pony. She's out to get every pony. Who? The Changeling! I told you! Who? You! Wait a minute, growled Spike. Owlicious, blinking his large, luminous eyes at the dragon. At some point, the owl had flown down in curiosity to perch on the miniature town hall and plucked up the brown doll in hopes that it might be some type of mouse. Who? Who? He repeated, causing Spike to give a strangled noise of frustration. And a shoo-shoo flap of his arms, Owlicious, dignity thus affronted, snapped up the Grey Pegasus doll as well and bore the two mouse-colored ponies back to his perch on the library's upper deck. It's no use, Shining Armor sighed. Half the ponies are mind-controlled and the other half just won't listen to reason. Excuse me, I think I might have an idea, Fluttershy said in a reedy, lithing, sing-song afflicted with a curious lisp. Spike gave a sudden puff of laughter, quickly silencing himself. Pinky gave him a suspicious look. What's so funny? She demanded. I'm sorry, Pinky, Spike said sincerely through his voice was laced with insipid giggles. It's just... No, really. I'm sorry, but your Fluttershy voice it's just terrible. Pinky gave us a scornful cluck of her tongue and glared at the dragon, who couldn't restrain the giggling any longer. Spike, that's so wrong, Twilight said primly, turning her face away and covering her mouth with her hoof. Pinky glanced off to the side with the long-suffering, see what I put up with look. Then turned her nose up and sniffed at Spike and Twilight. Well, I'm sure it's not a competition, she said with stately disdain. We're sorry, Pinky, truly. You can go on. We won't laugh, Twilight said. Yeah, honestly, I didn't mean to make fun of you, Spike agreed earnestly. Pinky rolled her eyes. Oh, alright. Maybe I was being a little too squinky. She cleared her throat and said la 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 a few times and gave the other two a warning look before starting. Did you even hear, Twilight, Fluttershy? Seriously, she muttered. Yeah, anyway, I know how to round up the other ponies, Fluttershy, sounding more plausibly like herself. Great, how? The same way I gather up my dear bunnies, said Fluttershy, with my floating basket and a giant net. Makes perfect sense, said Shining Armor. Fluttershy flew off somewhere momentarily and returned with her basket and a huge blue string net bag. Well, why didn't you list those things along with our assets in the first place? Grumbled Pinkie Pie. Okay, you get the ponies out of the way, and I'll go prepare our secret weapon. Pinkie Pie commandeered Rainbow Dash to help. The two of them went off to discuss Pinky's mysterious plan. Grim determined, the others set set out to take back the street. Fluttershy and Twilight Sparkle hovering above in the basket, with the net dangling below like a fishing trawl. Applejack's shining armor and Princess Caden marching off on the ground towards the chanting swarm. And so was joined the 4th or 5th mightiest battle in equestrian history. The heroes on the ground ran forth, smacked into the changing armies, who piled up and watched towards them in a living wave. Buried momentarily in the sheer mass of Ponies, shining armor burst up from underneath his attackers, sending them flying all directions. Warrior Applejack skirted the edge of the oncoming attackers and kicked each one after another with expert aim into the waiting net. Cadence never taken to violence, took the no less effective approach of hugging 4 or 5 ponies at once until they were subdued with love.
That's it. I quit. Okay, I'm back, guys.
Then tossing them unceremoniously into the net. Rarity emerged from the pile and confronted Applejack face to face, determined with zombie implacability to defend her new mistress. Applejack gave a hearty, menacing laugh. Now this is I've been waiting for a long time. She was whirling around to bring good old Bucky McGillicuddy and Kicks McGee to bear. Rarity had only time to squeal in alarm before she was bucked high into the air to fall neatly into the net alongside all the rest. Despite the overwhelming number, the mind-controlled drones were no match in the long run for the clever and resourceful starring characters. The net bulged with helplessness. Struggling ponies and Fluttershy drew the string neck closed, hovering away to stash the captives where they could do no further harm. Fools! The changeling shouted in defiance with the barest hint of unease. Surely you don't think I need those idiots to handle the likes of you. She flew up in front of the heroes, hovering just out of their reach. Pinky, she's out in the open, Armor called. What? The changeling looked around, realizing that she indeed was alone in wide open space.
Aw, deal with it.
Bitch. She whipped back and forth in suspicion. What's going on now? Perfect, said Pinky. She turned to Dash and bowed to salute. It's all up to you now, best young flyer.
10 minutes and you're off.
Dash nodded smartly, blowing her flag goggles and rocketed into the air. To the momentary consternation of her beleaguered comrades, the Pegasus first flew directly away from the battlefield, but soon became clear she was going to curve around a huge wide arc. It was only a quick joggle in her smooth parabola to avoid the snapping beak of a startled giant owl. Rainbow Dash came zooming back down towards Ponyville, accelerating in a bullet line towards the false Rarity. Ha! I've dealt with you before, the changeling scoffed. She braced herself in Dash's path, ready to fend her off, but the rainbow bomb was not aiming directly for her. Instead, Dash circled around her opponent, flying in tighter and tighter loops, easily evading the changeling effort to smack her down. Caught me by surprise last time, you cheaty changeling, she crowed. But let's face it, I'm Rainbow Dash, and no pony beats me in a fair fight. Then hold still and fight me, you feathery fool, shouted the changeling, exasperated, trying to follow the ever-speedier circling of her enemy. Rainbow Dash snorted disdainfully. Faster and faster she whirled, creating a shimmering violet cone around the false Rarity, who found herself caught up by the winds in the center of the vortex. You can't keep this up forever, pesky Pegasus, taunted the imposter. Voice faltering, Rainbow Dash only laughed, glowing brighter as she accelerated, a bright cyan streak flashing through the magenta swirl of her localized tornado. I don't have to do this forever, she said teeth tight with effort as she pushed herself ever faster. Just long enough! The wind of her smiling passage washed across Ponyville, starting the leaves of the library, picking up stray papers. The light around Rainbow Dash's hurling floor grew even brighter, became a filmy cone of white, which she strained yet harder to do. The changeling Rarity cried out in terror as the zooming Pegasus was swathed in light too intense to look upon. This! Kaboom! A bright flash and concussive burst of wind shook the shelves of the library, knocking Pinkie Pie and Spike onto the terrace with nearly identical gape-jawed expressions of shock. A shimmering ream of brilliant spectral color burst from the center of the explosion, flowing across the room in a gorgeous, chromatic display. The Rarity doll was hurled by the blast into the distant reaches of the forest and wildlife section. Twilight sat back and let the magic of her horn fade. It flushed with triumph and effort. Pinkie and Spike stared at her awestruck as the rainbow ring disappeared and the Rainbow Dash doll hit the floor. Then as one they broke into startled whoops and applause. A sonic rainbow! She did it! She did it! I mean, you did it, Twilight! Pinkie hopped from hoof to hoof in excitement. How'd you do it? Just a simple color illusion, actually, and some fancy high-speed levitation, Twilight said. The doll is magically related to Rainbow Dash because it represents her, so it made it easier to imitate something she can do. That's so cool, Pinkie gushed. She shot forth and squeezed Twilight in a hug hard enough to make her squeak. It was pretty awesome, Twilight, Spike said, suave, as though he expected nothing less. Thanks, guys, Twilight managed to say. Pinkie relented and let her go. Ooh, what are you gonna do next? She asked, clapping her hooves in anticipation. Twilight raised her eyebrows and looked around the dolls. Despite her intention to not think about work while playing Pinkie's game, she had considered other spells that she could use to enhance the make-believe. Strictly for practice, of course, certainly not to show off. But as she paused for thought, her ears perked up in the momentary silence, alerted to a sound that chilled her bones. Pinkie and Spike looked as well, the three of them turning to look towards the window near the library's front door. The rain had gradually fallen from a steady roar to a soft whispering sprinkle, and the relative quiet they could hear all too well clearly the high-pitched sounds outside. Filly voices, several of them raised in laughter, with them an older, deeper voice, husky with the distinctive squeak at the end of each guffaw. Oh, Horse-feathered, Twilight groaned, jumped up across the room and flung the door open. Just as she suspected, rolling about in amusement near the entrance were three fillies she recognized despite the mud as Sweetie Belle, Screwlow, and Applebloom. Rainbow Dash hovered above the trio, holding her belly, barely maintaining to stay in the air. Da-da-da-da. Twilight, that was the most amazing thing ever. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da. Okay, and let's see. What pages? Da-da-da. Nah, you know me, true. Na-na-na-na. Yes, right, research. Nah. Okay, no, I'm just gonna skip to the good stuff. We are pretty much gonna tell every pony sooner or later, said Scootaloo. We can promise not to mean to, Sweetie Belle offered optimistically. Just saying, I kinda have to tell Applejack and Rarity and those guys in Cloudsdale I hate. Rainbow Dash contributed. Twilight rolled her eyes and said loudly, Well, alright, you're forcing my hoof. If I can't stop you from babbling, I'll just have to take other measures. What kind of other measures? Dash asked, waved the ominous paws. Now, not for the first time, she'd wondered just how far Twilight Sparkle how far up the crazy tree Twilight Sparkle could really climb. Pinkie, Spike, Twilight answered instead of answering. Quick as in practice, Spike and Pinkie slammed the front door, leaning against it in a cool gangster slouch. She gave the captive guest a dangerous look over the sunglasses she suddenly wore. And in the curious menace in the act of chewing a toothpick, Spike stepped alongside Twilight, holding a net bag full of toy ponies. Twilight gave her best villainous grin, not quite as creepy as Pinky's, but the effect nevertheless. If the story is going to get around, I just have to make sure you four don't get the last laugh. No, this little anecdote will be just as embarrassing for every pony. Except for the ones who don't care! Pinky sings song blissfully free of dignity. Twilight advanced, challenging Rainbow Dash and the Crusaders, who cringed beneath the eerie cheer in her eyes. Spike held the bag open towards them, solemn as one offering duelists their choice of weapons. "Pick your ponies, girls," said Twilight. "We're having the most adorable tea party ever. To be continued." Finally! Alright guys, thanks for watching again as ever. Thank you for your support. Leave a like and a comment down below. All your support is... Actually, it kind of really helps me a lot because... with how I'm going, everything sucks this summer. My parents are bitching at me. Yeah. Well, anyway, thanks for watching again, and I'll see you guys soon, maybe tomorrow. Alright. Bye! I hope to see you guys again.